Welcome to everyone. Tonight we're going to be talking about Cancer and Capricorn. That's the polarity of energies that we're working with this month. And I know it seems like I say this every month, but this is going to be an intense month. But 2019 was an intense year. And we're starting off this year with another really concentrated focus of Capricornian energy. So it's going to be quite intense for a while. So we have the sun in Capricorn, the moon is in Cancer. We have the full moon tomorrow at 11:23 a.m. So if you can pause at that time and just kind of get quiet and still for a minute and send your blessings or ask for blessings, it's a good time to be in direct contact with those energies. The lunar eclipse happens at 11:11 tomorrow morning, so just a little bit before the full moon we get a lunar eclipse. The lunar eclipse will be in Cancer. We're still feeling the effects of the solar eclipse of December 26th, because eclipses usually go on for 6 months or so, the energies. So we're dealing with that, and then we have 5 planets in the sign of Capricorn right now. We've got Mercury, the Sun, Pluto, Saturn, and Ceres. So highly concentrated. And then we have a really big conjunction happening tomorrow as well, with Saturn and Capricorn are conjunct in the sign of Capricorn. And that just means that when planets are conjunct, it just means that they're sort of on top of each other. Saturn and Pluto have been moving closer and closer together all through last year, but tomorrow they are exactly on top of each other, the exact minute, the exact second. And it's quite a big deal. I mean, astrologers have been talking about it for at least a year. So we'll talk about that a little bit later, but since there's so many planets in Capricorn, I want to spend a little bit of time talking about what that means. Capricorn is often called the energy of father, not to be mistaken with patriarchy or masculine necessarily, but the father energy, spirit energy. It's got a lot of will. The Capricorn personality is active and assertive. Usually Capricorn people are fairly organized. They have their life fairly organized, and their physical reality is kind of all put together. They like to make their lists and get things done in order, and they're hard workers. They're determined. They are very steadfast and sort of one-pointed in their direction. Cancer, on the other hand, is called the mother principle, not to be mistaken for passive or feminism. The mother principle in that Cancer energy is receptive and nurturing, where Capricornian energy is active and outgoing. So when we blend those two energies together at their highest expression, it's called the marriage in the heavens, because we're blending together the energy of love and will, and we're bringing them into alignment. And when you think about it, that's a pretty important balance for any of us to try to maintain in our lives. Where do we bring in that will energy which says, I've got to get this done, and where do we say, let's go with the flow energy of Cancer and just kind of let things ride? We talked last time, I think it was, about the fact that two opposite energies can never be in the same element. So Capricorn is an earth sign, Cancer is a water sign. And that just means the energy of an earth sign is pragmatic, down to earth, grounded, usually deals in physical reality, concrete reality. Cancer, on the other hand, is fluid and watery and sensitive and nurturing. So it might be interesting for you this month to think about these two energies and which energy you identify with the most. the will, strong, assertive energy of Capricorn, or the sort of go with the flow energy of Cancer, and the nurturer. Anytime we have two opposing energies, our task is to kind of bring them together and blend them and integrate them. So the question might be, one of the questions might be this month, how do we bring together that let's get it done energy of Capricorn with the go with the flow energy of Cancer? And I think that the answer to any bringing together any two polarities is, first of all, to be mindful, to be aware of when you're stuck in one polarity or the other. So if you're stuck in that will energy, you know, it's just go, go, go all the time, push, 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 effort, 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 get it done, achieve, go forward. And there's no space for that sort of fluid receptivity to something emerging that you hadn't planned on. And on the opposite side, if you're so go with the flow that you get to be kind of laissez-faire, you don't have any access to that will when things need to get done. So the balance is to be mindful of where you are and how that energy is impacting you at any given time, and then take a step back and make a choice about either calling in the opposite energy or toning down the predominant energy, but making a choice about which energy you want to either integrate or push away. So it's always about choice. We're never victims of these energies that are impacting us. We always have choice about how we want to use them and how we want to express them in the world. But that takes mindfulness, takes awareness, because we have to be able to see where we are in any given moment. And if we're just kind of going through the day, you know, blah, 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 not even paying attention, then we can't track where our energy is going. So, you know, Capricorn is like, let's get it done, and Cancer is like, well, first I think I want to take a hot bath and go for a nice walk, and maybe later, you know. That's one aspect of Cancer, it's not the total thing. So Cancer is the nurturer, Capricorn is more of a provider energy. So when you're trying to balance things, you can take the qualities of each energy and see what happens when you bring them together. So can you be a nurturing provider? Can you be nurturing when you need to be? Can you be out there in the world providing when you need to be? And do you have access to both of those energies at any given time? Or are you too identified with one or the other? I think that's the key, is just not to identify too strongly with one polarity or the other, because then we're stuck and we can get rigid and stuck in our ways. Cancer is a feeling energy, Capricorn not so much. Capricorn's much more detached, much less access to their feelings. So if we blend those two together, can we be lovingly detached? I don't know about you, but for me, when I'm hurt or afraid, it's really easy to just shut down and close off my heart. Not so easy to maintain my boundaries but still keep my heart open, lovingly detached. You know, I don't know if this is true or not, but I've heard that the Buddha once said, don't throw anyone out of your heart. And then one of the Buddhist teachers added to that, it doesn't mean you can't throw them out of your house, but just don't throw them out of your heart. So, you know, we maintain our boundaries, but we keep our heart open while we do that, so that we can have a good balance there and not get run over by our compassionate, nurturing nature, but also not get stuck in that my way or the highway, you know, energy of Capricorns can sometimes get kind of rigid about that. So one of the symbols for Capricorn is the mountain goat. And the interesting thing about studying the symbols of the signs is that they give you clear indicators of the energy of that sign. So the mountain goat, if you study the mountain goat, very sure-footed, takes very cautious steps. Capricorn is very cautious. He's not going to go jumping off any cliffs. Not going to take a lot of chances. going to think things out pretty carefully before he moves, and he's going to steadfastly put one foot in front of the other as he climbs up that mountain. But he's determined and dedicated to that climb. So there's a poem I'd like to read to you about that. It's called How to Climb a Mountain. Make no mistake, this will be an exercise in staying vertical. Yes, there will be a view later, a wide swath of open sky, but in the meantime, tree and stone. If you're lucky, a hawk will coast overhead, scanning the forest floor. If you're lucky, a set of wildflowers will keep you cheerful. Mostly, though, a steady sweat, your heart fluttering indelicately, a solid ache perforating your calves. This is called work. What you will come to know eventually and simply as movement, as all the evidence you need to make your way. Forget where you were. That story is no longer true. Level the gaze to the trail that you're on, and even the dark won't stop you. That's by Maya Stein. So this is the journey of Capricorn. It's like going up that mountain, steady and sweating and heart fluttering and beating wildly, and just making your way, not looking back. But then there's another mountain in Capricorn. In esoteric astrology, we call this the mountain of spiritual aspiration, because the Capricorn personality will climb one mountain, and then there's another mountain to climb. The first mountain that most Capricorns that are totally identified with their personality will climb is the mountain of material success. They want to make it big. They want to be a success. They want to be looked upon with admiration and adoration. And in fact, one of the mantras of that Capricorn personality is let ambition rule. So ambition is the predominant energy, and they're going to make it up that mountaintop, and when they get to the top, they're going to have everything that they thought they wanted. Material success, prestige, status. And they may do that for lifetimes. But at some lifetime, they're going to be at the top of that mountain, and they're going to look around and say, it's pretty lonely up here. You know, I've stepped over all these people getting here. Capricorn is about power and authority and how you use that power. And when they're climbing the mountain of materialism, they don't care who they step over. It's power over, not honoring the power within. So at some point they'll wake up and they'll say, wow, this isn't quite what I thought it was going to be like. I'm not sure that this is going to make me happy or give me any sort of purpose or satisfaction. And at that point they start looking for something deeper, something beyond themselves. And that's when they begin to climb the second mountain, the mountain of spiritual aspiration. And so there's another poem that sort of describes that by Kahlil Gibran. It's called The Blessed Mountain. You may have heard of the Blessed Mountain. It's the highest mountain in our world. Should you reach the summit, you would have only one desire, and that would be to descend and be with those who dwell in the deepest valley. That is why it is called the Blessed Mountain. So the mantra for the Capricornian soul-centered person is, lost am I in light supernal, yet on that light I turn my back. Because when you're on the mountain of spiritual aspiration and you reach the top, you're transformed, you're transfigured. It's what we would call enlightenment. And you know, it would be pretty seductive to want to stay there, just to bliss out in that place, right? But the true disciple knows that the journey isn't over, that you take that light and that transformed personality, you're soul-centered at this point, where the soul is in charge of you, and you go back down into the earth, into the valley, and you shine your light to help the other weary pilgrims, as they're called, the weary pilgrims. So that's the spiritual journey of Capricorn. So let's talk for a minute about the eclipses. The solar eclipse was on the day after Christmas, and as I mentioned, we're still sort of feeling the effects of that eclipse. And eclipses most often have to do with endings or beginnings, deaths or rebirths. Solar eclipses usually focus on something new coming into the life, some new aspiration or intention or goal, which is perfect for December 26th because everybody's sort of thinking about New Year's resolutions and that kind of thing. Lunar eclipses have more to do with endings and what is needing to be let go of. So I love this writer, Danielle Laporte. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of her, but she talks about our tradition of making New Year's resolutions. And she says, I think we should approach the new year in an entirely different way. What would it be like if instead of setting goals and resolutions, we thought about how we want to feel in the next year? What feeling do we want to bring into that new year? And so she has you spend some time, and I'm going to give you a little taste of it, but I would invite you to take this idea home and maybe contemplate with it a little bit more in your own time. But she says, figure out 2 or 3 core desire feelings that you have that you most want to embody in your life, and then do whatever you need to do to feel that way. And that's your new year. Think about how you want to feel and then just commit to doing whatever it is that will make you feel that way. So I did this exercise last year, I think it was, and I came up with joy was one of the things that I wanted to feel and bring into the new year. So what would bring me joy? And I sat with that for a while, and 3 things came to mind. I wanted to play the piano, I wanted to learn how to dance, and I wanted to play with babies. So a friend of mine just lent me his keyboard and brought it over, set it up for me, and I've been playing the piano, and I signed up for Arthur Murray dance lessons because I've never learned how to ballroom dance, and haven't yet, but will sign up at some daycare center to play with the young kids, because those are the things that bring me joy. And I thought, why not just do more of those things? So I'm going to ask you to just kind of close your eyes for a minute and just think about what kind of feeling you want to bring into the new year, because the way we end a cycle is the way we begin the new cycle. So if we end the cycle thinking about all these feelings we want to bring into the new year, it will be a good way to begin. So I'm going to give you just a minute to think about your own ideas about what feelings you have, and then I'll give you some suggestions of feelings that you might resonate to. So just take a minute and think about that. You could also just think about it as energy. What kind of energy do you want to bring into the new year? So here are some ideas. Let's see if any of these resonate with you. Lighthearted. That might be a challenge with all the astrological things happening in the chaos in the world, but it wouldn't be a bad intention. Aligned. Joy. Seen. I want to feel seen. Harmony. Powerful. Soulful. Inspired. I want to feel delight. I want to feel flow. So if any of those resonate with you, or you have come up with your own, just try to keep those in your mind, and maybe spend a little time with it when you go home and see what things you can do to bring more of that into your life. And so even though it's not New Year's Eve, I want us to imagine that we're closing out the year with this beautiful prayer written by Tama Keeves, because she's the one that said the way you end a cycle is the way you begin the new cycle. So let's end this cycle of the old year with this prayer. I bless this year of my life. I bless all that it offered me, and I bless all that I received. I thank myself for this year of my life. I thank myself for everything I tried, whether or not it worked. I thank myself for all the times I believed in myself, even if I couldn't sustain it for as long as I would have liked. I thank myself for the times I got it right. I thank myself for the times I stretched. I thank myself for the times I was generous with myself and for the times that I invested in my dreams. I thank myself for the times I spoke my truth and for the times I hunted for my truth. Now I ask that this new beginning be blessed. May I feed it with my love and attention. May this new beginning grow into a beautiful year of blessing for myself and for everyone I touch. So the lunar eclipse tomorrow, like I mentioned, has everything to do with letting go, something ending, and because it's in Cancer, it will focus on our families or our relationships, our feeling natures. So we might ask ourselves, is there something in the way I respond emotionally that is habitual, that can be let go of? Think about the things that are sort of in the way of you moving forward, and those are the things that we could focus on letting go of tomorrow. It doesn't mean that you're never going to do those things again, but if you just hold an intention tomorrow at the time of the lunar eclipse or sometime tomorrow, just say, I'm willing to let go of this because it no longer serves me and it's holding me back. So just look at those emotional reactions, things that have to do with feelings, family, relationships, nurturing. Maybe you're too much of a caretaker. Can you let that go? And start using some of that energy to take care of yourself. So then the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, it begins a cycle that's going to impact us for at least the next 2 years. Both of these signs are both of these planets are in the sign of Capricorn, and Capricorn rules institutions. Pluto is the energy of the destroyer. It comes in and says, if you're in the way of my moving forward, I'm going to knock the socks off of you. And since Capricorn is about institutions, we can imagine this is going to happen in our institutions, in our government, in our social structures. Saturn is the lord of karma and authority. So this conjunction has everything to do with how we wield our power and how we transform the institutions that aren't working for us anymore. We can certainly see that many of our institutions aren't working for us anymore. So there's going to be a reckoning time. The collapse of the old order is accelerating. It's speeding up. One astrologer put it this way: this conjunction will represent the karmic forces that will expose ethical abuses by authoritarians in power, precipitating economic insecurities and moral outrage. So that's what we have to look forward to. I mean, if we look at the largest picture, it's a good thing, right? Because those old institutions have to die before we can create the world that we want and the world that we really need. So I just want to read you one more thing about this conjunction coming from another astrologer, Philip Lindsay, who he's written several books on the history of humanity, but he writes them from the aspect of the history of the evolution of consciousness, not just, this happened in 1875 and this happened in 1876, but how does consciousness evolve over all these years? So this is what he says about this conjunction. This Saturn-Pluto conjunction has not occurred in this sign for 500 years. Since the religious Reformation in Europe in 1517. Hence, this conjunction indicates a massive reformation that will take place in the ensuing years. It's the pivotal point of the Pisces-Aquarius cusp. And we've talked about this before, but new people may not understand what we're talking about. We're moving into a new age, the Aquarian age. We're leaving the age of Pisces, and we're right in the middle of that transition time, which is another reason why there's so much chaos in the world. So this is right at the cusp of that time. And it represents the power structure of the status quo that have reached their ultimate point of crystallization. Hopefully that's true. Like the ultimate, that's as rigid as they're going to get, and now things start disintegrating. Hence an inevitable shattering. If crystallization is reflected upon, it means that the shadow must be faced. To destroy the crystallization is to release the shadow locked up within. Hence, this must occur individually and collectively, and has been occurring for much of 2019 as Saturn and Pluto have moved closer to one another. Both planets represent an expression of the destroying force of Ray 1, will and power, that is used to shatter old forms. Following the shattering of these old forms, radical changes are on the horizon, symbolized by Saturn and Jupiter entering Aquarius together in Christmas 2020. Aquarius is the sign of reform and revolution, and the greater cycle toward which the world is heading. So it doesn't exactly portend, quiet times ahead, but the larger picture is very hopeful. And I think what this is asking of us as individuals is that we deepen our spiritual practice, that whatever tools we use to help us stay aligned and centered and grounded and not drawn into the chaos, not drawn into the emotional reactiveness that's in the world, can be really, really helpful. Because our job as spiritual seekers is to invoke the light. We're past the winter solstice now. There's more light every day. So if we take that as a metaphor for ourselves, bringing that light into ourselves and shining it out into the world, we can go a long ways toward helping to transform our planet and our humanity. So that's our challenge, is to hold steady in the light while all this chaos is going on. And then keep our eyes on the vision of what is emerging. So we're going through the labor pains of a new birth. Let's keep our eyes on what's going to emerge out of that labor, rather than focusing on all the chaos that's going around. The more we can keep ourselves out of that chaos and that frenzied, frenetic, blah, blah, the more we're helping to heal the world, because we're holding steady and we're holding the light. I want to just talk for a minute about, before we start our meditation, about the power of invocation and evocation. It's actually a spiritual law that whatever we invoke in the name of love, even in the Bible, whatsoever you shall ask in the name of love, with faith in the outcome, we'll see it accomplished. So we can count on that. And when we come together in groups like this and we hold an intention to call in the light, that goes up into the spiritual realms and it evokes a response. So the more powerful our invocative appeal is, the more powerful is the downpouring. But we have to ask, we're told that this is a free will planet. The great ones are not going to interfere with our evolution. We have to ask for their help. But when we ask, we're heard and there is a response. So we have to have faith in that. And it's one of the reasons we meet together at the full moon, is so that we can sort of bring our energies together and send forth that evocative appeal to the great ones. So before we go into meditation, we're going to do the meditation for invoking the light on our planet. I thought we should invoke the light onto ourselves first. So this is a prayer called Call It In. So if you want to close your eyes and just kind of settle in and let these words just kind of sink into yourself. And don't be intensely focused so that you're scrunched up and constricted. Just flow, use the Cancer flow, kind of flow with the words and let them kind of nurture you. Okay, so call it in. Calling all forces for good. Calling in the elemental energies, the spirits of the land and of the creatures that walk it, the spirits of the waters and those that dwell within, the spirit of the air and those who float and take wing on the wind, calling to the ancient guardians of this planet and of its peoples, calling on the long sleeping force of the mythological beings of old, calling on the directions north, south, east, west, calling on the above and the below, calling on the center. See us through this time in a powerful and protective way. Give us courage and inner calm, foresight and preparedness for the battles we are fighting, and wins for the ones that are ahead. Give us clarity to see the moments of peace and to draw strength for our love and fortitude. Offer us answers in our dreams and support in our waking. Calling on the great mystery, the benevolent powers of creation, help us tap our higher calling, our magic, and our bravery for the days to come and for today. Okay. And then let's just gently go into meditation. So taking a few gentle breaths, just establish a quiet rhythm to your breathing. Just gently in and out, in and out. And letting the breath bring you home into the body to be still and to relax. Letting go of any tension or constriction. Just sinking into the silence. Sinking into that place of deep, deep peace. There is a place inside each of us that holds that deep peace. And with an intention, we can find it and hang out there until we can feel that peace permeate throughout our whole body. And we can bring that into the world just by our everyday lives. Keeping that peace alive within us, keeping that light radiant within us, and then radiating that out to everyone we meet. So little by little we spread the light. We spread that peace. And it can transform our world. Now gently put your focus on your heart center. And let us affirm that we are the light. We are the light of the world. Love and light is the fabric of our universe. And so we affirm, radiance are we, and power. We stand forever with our hands stretched out, linking the inner world of meaning and the subtle world of glamour. We reach into the light and bring it down to meet the need. We reach into the silent place and bring from thence the gift of understanding. Thus with the light we work and turn the darkness into day. This is our role as disciples, as spiritual seekers, to dispel the darkness in the world. But we are not alone. Let us join together now as light workers with all other light workers around the world. See us join together heart to heart, soul to soul, encircling the planet. And together we send up our invocative appeal to the Great Ones. Pour down upon us love, light, goodwill, and divine purpose, that we may play our part in healing and transforming human consciousness, and helping to establish right human relationships. Let us imagine this happening right now. Visualize yourself in outer space, looking down upon our sacred earth. Imagine a beam of brilliant light coming down from the spiritual realms and filling every corner of our planet, touching all the kingdoms of nature. Imagine the planet now as a radiant ball of light shining brightly in the universe. See harmony, peace, goodwill manifesting everywhere on earth. One family, everyone connected. Now let's take a moment to focus on the U.S. and the Middle East. Let us call on the Great Ones, the Masters, to impress the minds of those people in power with high ideals, with solutions that will bring about peace between us. Let us call forth the soul of the U.S., the soul of Iran. May the soul of these nations be quickened and awakened, and may the qualities of these souls come forth and manifest their purpose. We send them our prayers. And now let us invoke the help of the devas of rain and wind. Let us ask the devas of the rain to pour down gently upon Australia. If you've seen those maps of Australia with the red dots all around it where there are fires, just imagine those red dots being blackened out by rain. And we ask the devas of the wind to calm down so that that country can be restored. We ask now that these prayers go forth on the wings of the angels to manifest the highest good for our earth. And we'll close with this invocation. Let the forces of light bring illumination to humankind. Let the spirit of peace be spread abroad. May people of goodwill everywhere meet in a spirit of cooperation. May forgiveness on the part of every human be the keynote at this time. Let power attend the efforts of the great ones. So let it be, and help us to do our part. And we'll close now with the great invocation that is on the paper that I gave you. And I'll do just a little bit of explaining about this. This is called the World Prayer, and it was given out by a Tibetan master named Dwal Kul in the early 1900s. And he said at that time that this was the most powerful prayer that we could say to bring in this new age of light and harmony and peace. It's a powerful invocation to the great ones to pour down upon us light, love, and power. I want to say a little bit about the words in here. Even though we use the word Christ, it's not a Christian prayer as such. Christ is used here as a title for the being, the master, who is the head of all of the masters. It's an office that's being held by that person, that being, and the title is called the Christ. So it's not the Jesus of the Bible, it's just a being who's the head of the hierarchy, it's called. And then the use of men means, it was originally written in Sanskrit, and in Sanskrit the word men means the minds of humanity. So it's really not gender specific to only men, it's to everyone. But some people get offended by the language, so I just want to make that clear. So the way we say this world prayer is that we say each stanza and then we pause to visualize what we've actually said and see that light and love and power pouring down on the planet, just as we did in our meditation. So after each stanza we pause, and then at the end we close with 3 ohms. So, from the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. And they're referring there to the world teacher, is another name for the Christ. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center, which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Oh.